JoAnna, great to see you. Welcome to Pop Alternative.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you too.
It's interesting because you've done this now for 4 seasons with Sweet Magnolias, and I'm wondering if you could changes, but I'm really interested in that script to screen journey, right? Like you get this like scripts for what's going to happen this season, and
Yeah.
then you see it come to life. What was that like for you specifically with season 4?
Well, this season I got to direct. So I read the scripts really early. And then I powered through them. Normally because and it's actually something that I think is so wise that our producers do, but also I just appreciate it. I don't like to get too ahead of myself, especially because we shoot 2 episodes at a time generally, and I like to kind of take things as it comes and just like feel that as it unfolds. But this time I had to read them all to start with because I was directing. And I felt it was such a different experience because I was on this journey.
Yeah.
And this season, not to get too crazy, but it's a lot happens, and every the end of every episode there's a jaw-dropping moment. And for better or for worse.
It's so interesting as well because one of the things about it's so funny you mentioned kind of the cliffhangers because I feel like there's specific seasons that it's just like, oh my god, what's going on, and then you finally get new episodes
Yeah.
like season to season. But one of the things about Sweet Magnolias that I wanted to talk to you about is the self-reflection and soul-searching component of all the characters, right? You know what I mean? With your character and all the friends, Maddie, and like your kids and everything. It's like the figuring things out, the self-reflection. And I'm wondering from a kind of storyteller actor perspective, you can even answer this even from a directing perspective. Like, what's that like in regards to like getting thrown into the worlds and playing these lost characters? Because from the
Yeah.
viewer perspective, right, like they don't know they're lost. Like, so do you find it's more challenging? Is it more fun? Like, I'm curious about that.
Well, I mean, I've talked about this a lot lately because I think one of the things that I love so much about Sweet Magnolias is it's really relatable.
Yeah.
And it gives people an opportunity to kind of go on this journey with us that we're actually, in fact, on as well. And there's just so much heart attached to it. Also, we are led by an incredible showrunner who literally has mapped out so many things. So the journey is sort of this like side by side creation of, bringing these ideas to life. Our writing staff is so acutely aware even of our little quirks and ticks and like anything that they can do to bring our natural tendencies into grounding the material because we are, living someone else's lives. Um, that I feel like for this, it's almost like therapy. It's
Yeah.
almost cathartic. It's this opportunity to kind of step into the shoes of, someone's life that's not necessarily your own, which is actually what you do just as an actor, but it's so relatable and real that it just feels really rewarding.
Yeah,
I don't know if
absolutely.
I answered your question, but
That is 100%. I do find it also fascinating too, because a show like this, there's so many things to love about it. And I think it's like the family and the friendship is at the heart of it. But being on this show for 4 seasons specifically, what do you think is really hitting stride with the audience in Sweet Magnolias? Like, I'm just curious. Maybe you can't even answer that because there's so many things, but it just seems to be that show that people love and continue to watch and want to know what's going to happen with the growth in the arcs. But is there kind of like an element you like the most specifically?
well, I think it just you feel something when you watch it. You feel less alone. You feel like you can relate to it. You feel connected to it. It's rooted in a lot of truth. And I think that there's something, it's like a balm almost. And um, we're not trying to do anything more than just be giving you a slice of life. And I think there's something really comforting about that, at
Yeah.
least for me as an actor, being on the show, as a human working on the show for as long as I have. We've all experienced so many things personally throughout the trajectory of the show that it's like we watched children grow up. We've, gone through love and loss and huge life moments together. And so just it's a great gift to be
Yeah.
able to really know I think it's just there's just a lot of like warmth and heart that's surrounding it, and I think that that's palpable, um and it's an honor to be able to do a show like that. For me, it's kind of all I want to do as a storyteller at this point is tell stories that people can relate to, and not necessarily, you know, be happy about, but just say, yeah, I can kind of see myself in that, or that makes me feel a little bit less alone, or
Yeah.
I want friendships like that. Those are the kind of female friendships that I want to have, the
Mhm.
real ones that call you on your stuff, but are ride or dies and all of that. It's aspirational, but it's also really relatable.
100%. And maybe this is kind of my, filmmaking hat on right now because I'm also a filmmaker when I ask these questions. But I'm wondering because I know from an acting perspective, you try not to do this because of like you're in the zone and you're focusing on the character and being in the moment. But did it ever happen on a season of Sweet Magnolias where you were ever like conscious of the audience member watching Sweet Magnolias while you were making it? Or does that kind of happen a little bit more when you rap? Because sometimes there's so many OMG moments that you might be at a table read and be like, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, like what are people gonna think about this?
I think that we have such a, even just internationally, I was in London and people were like, "Oh my gosh, I met French and our shows does really well in France." And I I think we're very aware of the chord that the show strikes, and knowing, and they're so vocal and so supportive. And so it doesn't, we kind of take a lot of pleasure and joy where I'll be like, oh my gosh, people are going to freak out about this. If there's one moment in this season, actually, there's a lot of really jaw-dropping moments, but there is one moment in this season that I like flew off my bed when I actually watched it because I wasn't in the scene. And I was like, this is crazy. I called Cheryl. I was like, this is nuts. It was exactly as for me as a viewer, because, we have so many different storylines and we're not always present for all of them. And even though we are connected to them and we know what's going on and we read the scripts and all of that kind of stuff, but we're not always there to see it come to life.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoyed so much about being a director this season, was that I was able to be a part of watching these people that I admire so deeply and I love their characters so much. I feel so protective of them
Yep.
and in love with them for all their quirks and eccentricities and the beauty of all of them. And so it was really fun to be able to create a vision and work with this cast to be able to kind of like bring it to life. And
Yeah.
I think we are aware of our audience.
Mhm.
They're the reason that we still are able to do the show, and it's really fun to please them. And there is a journey. You get to a fourth season of a show, and I actually think this might be my favorite season thus far. But there's ebbs and flows. I mean, you look at every show that's been on for a minute. If you have like 3 seasons of a show, you can like run and gun. But when you're in it for the long haul, there's just like life.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's more jaw-dropping than others. And sometimes it'll take your breath away, and sometimes it's smooth sailing and a little boring. Not boring. The show's never been boring in my mind. But you know what I mean? You're like, wow, we're in a groove here. There's
It's
nothing
also
like
the
wow.
relatability too is something you're talking about too. I feel like there's a character on Sweet Magnolias that everyone can relate to if you think about that,
Exactly.
which
Well, I
is
think that's
yeah,
really a huge priority for our writers, and
yeah,
that everybody can feel represented there, that
yeah.
anybody feels like they could live in Serenity.
For sure. And then last question before we wrap up, kind of adding to what you said about the amazing Sweet Magnolia fans. I mean, it drops like when a season of Sweet Magnolia drops, it drops worldwide on Netflix, right? It's not just
I know.
necessarily like a new season drops. It drops worldwide on Netflix. Take me through because I feel like season 1 it's like equal playing field for everyone, right? Because you've never
Yeah.
played these characters before, no one's seen it. But even season 2, you're getting used to it. When do you start kind of like, do you even start getting used to kind of the global kind of like effect of it dropping worldwide on Netflix? Is it season 3? Like, when does it start really kind of sinking in?
It sunk in for me in season 1 when it
Okay.
was COVID and we were all separated, and I thought, oh my gosh, whoa, this is like really struck a chord.
Hmm.
And then now it's like 4 seasons in, and every single day, every place I go, people are, when's the next season coming? And there's nothing that gives me greater joy than to be like February 6th. Like I have a date, because, you know, you'll have a date that you kind of been told, but it's not been announced yet, or it's a year. People are like, how long do I have to wait? And so now it's been really fun lately when I'm out.
Hmm.
I'm like, 2 more weeks, one more week,
Yeah.
so it's like, it's exciting. But yeah, I mean, it's a really phenomenal kind of experience,
Hmm.
unlike anything that I had ever experienced, because this is the first show that I did for Netflix. And It's really powerful and a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Someone was saying like that they do this and they did it with other shows, and I was like, I cannot do this. But like for example, because sometimes it takes a while for like from season 3 to season 4, so you have to refresh. Some
Yeah.
people have like purposely. I've never heard of this. I don't know if you've heard of this, but like so at like the last episodes of season 3 of Sweet Magnolias, right? They won't watch it, and then they'll watch that with the first episode of season 4. I don't think I could
I
ever
do
do
that too.
that.
I'm doing that with Outlander right now because
Oh my goodness.
Carson's like, wait, I've seen this before. Wait, Joe, this came out in like 2017. I was like, yeah, I'm back to the beginning. He goes, why? I go, because it's wrapping up. And he's like, but don't they have like 6 more episodes to go? And I said, yeah, I have 6 new ones to bank,
Yeah.
but I
So
can't like
okay. So
waste them
interesting.
yet.
So we'll do that. So you know,
Yeah,
but the
I do
thing is, I
that.
feel like
I
you
mean,
were
I'm
just.
like, and the prequel is coming in the summer, so I have it all planned out of when I'm going to finish Outlander, and it's going to go straight into the prequel
Mhm,
because I don't want my heart to hurt
mhm. Well, February 6th, they're getting more Sweet Magnolias. Whether they watch
so much.
season 3 or
They're getting
not,
a whole new
they
season.
got to sit more. And I can't wait for people to check it out. JoAnna, it was an honor and privilege to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Nice to chat with you too. Good luck on your filmmaking
Thank you.
career.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.